welcome back to the Smarktank Revolution, where we always kick out at 2. I am your host, Mr. Donnie Wonderful, and we are continuing with the essentials. Also, before we begin, I would like to give a shout out to my co-host, Joey Business, the man himself, for an excellent part 4, which covered Cody Rhodes. And again, this is the essentials, where we rank wrestlers according to two unique rating systems. One created by Bret the Hitman Hart, and then we have our own special unique one as well. The Bret Hart rating scale is from 1 to 10, and the STR, Smarktank Revolution's rating scale is from 1 to 5. And the details of those rating scales will always be in the description box whenever we do an Essentials episode. And I just want to get right in favorite wrestlers, who I think is an interesting pick to be number 5 or for part 5, and that is none other than the youngest Hart, the younger brother of the individual who helped create the criteria for this playlist. Bret Hart's younger brother, the Rocket, the Black Heart, the two-time Slammy Award-winning champion, multi-champion, Mr. Owen Hart. And I think this is going to be an interesting one. The Bret Hart scale can be unforgiving depending on how your perspective of the requirements. So, like for instance, Bret in Bret's book, he breaks down wrestlers in 3 categories: a wrestler's look, the promo ability, and in-ring work. I think most people that we rank on this list, they're usually going to fall victim to a wrestler's look, because that really is, it's more of an opinionated thing. Now, if you go back and you listen to episode 1 in contrast to episode 2, you'll see that whereas I gave Shawn Michaels a real, like my assessment of what a good look is, and then in episode 2, when Joey did Bret Hart, he really went into more depth and detail about it, and I thought that was excellent. And we're going to try to do that here. Now, Owen Hart, many faces. He came to the WWF at the time, I believe in the 80s. In the late 80s, if I'm not mistaken, the Blue Blazer was at WrestleMania 5 against Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, and he was, I don't know how old Owen was when he started, but I know that he has deep roots in Stampede Wrestling, and he was, he had more of an acrobatic, luchadorish style, meaning that he can do the athletic flips, and he was light and nimble and could bounce off the ropes, can bounce off the top turnbuckle, and it was just really, he wrestled a style that was really entertaining to watch throughout his whole entire career. And seeing that he's cut from the Hart family cloth, he can work. So this is going to be really interesting, and I just really wanted to get right into it with Owen, because I if you all listen to the show, and if you're new to the Smarktank Revolution, first of all, welcome. And if you go back and listen to some of our reviews and of pay-per-views, and even our playlist here, the Essentials, I'll make it no surprise that I am a very biased Bret Hart fan. Like, that was my favorite wrestler. Your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler, likely. And his matches age well. But you know what? So does Owen's. When you think about it in the long run, like, Owen was really a chameleon in a sense that he can fit in different scenarios. During the Attitude Era, you started to see the Black Heart side of Owen, and it was believable. And I always thought he was believable. I always thought Owen was entertaining. But when we run down the lists of our favorite wrestlers, he's often a name that doesn't get mentioned. but you can make an argument that he deserves to be there. Like, Owen was really good. I believe Sean Waltman said that Sean Waltman thought that Owen was actually better than Bret, but Bret took it more serious than Owen. And I remember listening to X Pac say that, saying, "You know what? I can buy that to a degree. I can buy that." And I think we're gonna get into it here too. But the run that Owen had in the early to mid '90s was almost by accident. In case you all haven't read Bret's book, the WrestleMania 10 Classic almost didn't happen. It wasn't even planned for Owen. It was actually planned for his brother Bruce. So Bruce Hart was supposed to be the black sheep of the family, and he was supposed to come in and beat Owen to get Bret's not Bret's attention, but to get on Bret's bad side. And Bruce and Bret were supposed to have a match at WrestleMania 10, leading up to Bret's second match of the night against Yokozuna for the title. But it was Bret that actually, I believe it was in a conversation with Vince and Pat Patterson. If I'm wrong, please, someone, you can correct me in the comments. It's been a while since I read Bret Hart's book, and it's funny because we're basically taking the rating scale out of that book. But it was a conversation between those three where Bret was pondering the idea of working with Bruce, and he mentioned, "Hey, why not Owen? Owen is better than Bruce, or just as good." Or I don't remember exactly verbatim what the verbiage was, but I remember that there was some apprehension, and then they eventually acquiesced to having Owen be the heel that turns his back on the family, in air quotes. But yeah, I always thought that was interesting. Before that, Owen was a baby face, a mid Carter. And I cringe when I say that, and I hope that any professional wrestler, because that's what you all are. We are all wrestling fans. I hope that some of the terminology that was coined by the other marks and people that try to define this genre. Some people call it sports entertainment. I will continue to call it professional wrestling, but I hope that when the term mid card is said, that it's not offensive. But Owen was he was a mid carder or a curtain jerker, and if he wasn't beating enhancement talent or jobbers, he was jobbing out to guys and having squash matches. Like, Owen Hart was featured and has a victory at WrestleMania 8 against Skinner. Now, if you blink twice, you completely missed it. It was about a 30-second match. 3 moves. I can transcribe the whole entire thing, but I won't do that here. We're gonna try to stay on topic here. So, the Rocket, Owen Hart, wrestler's look from 1 to 10, their physique, appearance, and presentation. It's kind of okay. So we have a mixed bag here because obviously Owen came in as the Blue Blazer. Then I believe he was with Coco Beware and High Energy, leading to the Rocket. But his look, he was leaner when he began. I believe he was. I'm trying to guess. I'll guess about in his mid to late 20s when he joined the WWF at the time from Stampede, and I'll give Owen a fair 5'9", 5'10". Again, very believable look, especially with the style that he wrestled at. I'm going to, all right. I just want to be fair because, when you mention a wrestler's look, I'm also, his whole entire appearance, his wrestling singlet, like, did that match him? I think Owen did a good job with doing that throughout his career. I didn't like the caution tape tights that he wore, but, like, we're going to give him some some leniency and immunity for that one, because overall, his appearance, if not, good or applicable to him. So out of a 1 to 10 scale, I'm going to give Owen, I'll give him a 7.5, 7.5, but that's a good 7.5. He wasn't the most jacked up or cut up guy either, but it's not like he had a bad body. And again, like I said, his appearance was very believable no matter what role he was doing. So I want to give him a 7.5. That is not I think that's kind of fair. I think that's fair. So next on Bret Hart's scale is the promo ability. The basically performing the dialogue. I can't pinpoint any classic promos aside from what would be classic to me, because there's a video also on the channel called the 1994, the emotional roller coaster of a Bret Hart fan, and I talk about obviously the feuds that Bret Hart had in that year, which largely revolved around Owen. And during that feud, Owen gave some really great underrated promos. I mean, him and Kurt Hennig are revered as one of the best jobbers, the best pranksters, the best ribbers. So I can, with that being said, I mean, delivering a promo, a believable one at that, had to be easy for Owen. And just off the strength of that alone, I'm gonna give him a 9. I really wanted to say 10, but I purposely wanted to stay away from the Hearts because they're my favorites. So the only reason why I'm not giving them a 10, because the 10 is just biased. So I'm going to try to be honest. I'm going to give them a 9. And there are people that'll listen to this and say, well, what Owen Hart promos do you remember? I love the one when I believe Todd Pettingill, this is in 1993, this is right after the Survivor Series, when he first turned heel with the temporary heel turn, where he's sitting in the locker room saying that he wanted to wrestle Bret, and Bret said under no circumstance will he wrestle his own brother, as in Bret's rebuttal. But that promo was really believable, and I remember even back then seeing that promo and saying, why, Owen, why do you want to do that? And then a week before WrestleMania 10, where he says, I don't know what law it is that says because you're older than me that you're better than me. Anybody that was ever a younger sibling could relate to that. And then, of course, enough is enough and it's time for a change. But if you want evidence, and this is what I'm going to give immunity to Owen for, if that's not enough, just the reputation of him being a good ribber, being able to play great pranks, whether it be on the phone or what may have you, that takes a level of improvisation that's just out of this world. So I know it's there, and that's why I'm ranking him so high, and that's why, in my opinion, he deserves a 10. But I know people that know me are going to say, oh, well, he's your favorite wrestler's younger brother, of course you're going to give him that. So all right, 9, you guys got me there. And then it's the third and last scale on from 1 to 10 on Bret Hart's scale is the in-ring work, the ability to perform. Now, I can't help but to be biased here. Owen fits everything. The 1995 match on Raw with Shawn Michaels, where Shawn kayfabed a concussion. I don't think it would have worked with anybody else. It had to be Owen. Owen, first of all, when you're raised in a house where your father's a promoter / wrestler and all your brothers are wrestlers and you have a damn dungeon in the basement, you're going to know how to work. And 10, that's it. Like, I don't what I just said, I think that's enough. That's enough evidence for it. If you want matches, if you want matches, and I'll get to that when we get to our. Well, we're transitioning over to the Smarktank Revolutions rating scale, but come on, I mean, what's a bad Owen Hart match? I'll wait. Leave it in the comment section. And if you have a bad Owen Hart match, I bet you can find 5 good ones. That ratio would be for one bad Owen Hart match, he'll have 5 great ones actually. And we're gonna leave it at that. So now we're gonna transition over to the Smarktank Revolutions rating system. Yes, that's ours. And our rating system scales and scores from a 1 to 5. 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. So, and we have 3 categories, and I'm gonna go through these 3 individually, and then I'm gonna talk about a little bit of them. Okay, so innovative effectiveness, the ability to work as a baby face or heel. The reason why I love our rating scale so much is because, it forces us to be honest. It forces us to be honest. All right, so also, I guess before I expound on this, the 1 to 5 rating scale kind of closes it in even tighter, which I also like. But okay, so Owen Hart as a babyface came in as a gimmick babyface as the Blue Blazer. The Blue Blazer, I don't remember actually being over, but I was way too young for that. I remember Owen Hart in, I want to say, in about 1992 with the baggy tights and the suspenders, then tagging up with Coco Beware. I remember him being a baby face, just not a spectacular baby face. The prime turn of Owen Hart's career was in 1994 as a heel, a believable one. He did that great. You couldn't feud with anybody better than Bret Hart at the time, arguably the best wrestler in wrestling at that time. So, he gets the credit for his heel work. The babyface work is kind of forgettable. I remember him being a babyface around WrestleMania 14 when he wrestled Triple H. So during the 1998 time, but I think he also switched heel then too. And if you want to count 1997, because Bret Hart pulled off the double turn, but you got to remember when the Hart Foundation, when they reformed and they became a faction, that also applied to them. So Owen was getting booed in America, but going to Canada, and you guys heard the pops. Feel free to reference In Your House Canadian Stampede. Now I know this in Calgary, but the entire Hart Foundation got a huge pop in 1997, where if they were to come across the water, they would be booed out of the building. But so this one's tough. I guess to be kind of fair, the heel, he's able to work as a heel, we know that, but like this one is saying, how good of a chameleon are you? I really want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I really want to go 3 or 3.5, but I'm gonna go 2, just to be fair, just so everyone, I completely omitted doing one for Bret Hart because I knew it was going to be difficult for me to be objective. So I'm going to try to do so with his younger brother. I'm going to go 2. Not that 2 is terrible. Not that 2 is bad. See, it doesn't sit right in my soul. Just for anyone listening to this, I gave Owen Hart a 2, and it doesn't sit right. I feel like Judas and Benedict Arnold combined. That's how I feel. But I'm just gonna go with the 2. All right. So the next one offers me some redemption. We get classic matches / classic rivalries. And the description says the highlight reel, the go-to matches that are best associated with a performer. All right, this is a 5. Just 1994 alone. I don't know if he was the hottest heel of that year, but he definitely should have and could have been. The go-to highlight reel, let's 1994, the best opening match in WrestleMania history, classic. King of the Ring winner, followed up with going to SummerSlam and having another classic steel cage match with Bret Hart. A lot of his 1994 revolved again around Bret the Hitman Hart, but when you can hang with Bret Hart, that speaks volumes. And I'm not gonna shave off any points because they're brothers and they likely trained in the dungeon together. Well, they know how to work, and that was the Canadian, that was the Stampede crew, and they showed us what working was back in 1994. 1994 WWF, I don't think you find two performers that work better than the Hart brothers with each other and against each other. 5. And then the defining and redefining moments. All right, this one's going to be kind of tough too, because as I'm reading that, I'm trying to buy some time, the career defining moments of a wrestler, because that kind of coincides with with his classic matches and classic rivalries. Because I can say the same thing. Owen's 1994. If any wrestler today had what Owen had back then, that's wrestler of the year. If you think of it, it's wrestler of the year. To work a program with the best performer of your era from January all the way up to November, and to keep a rivalry hot and bubbly. It was easier for them because, again, that's like if if we take two football players, if and put them in a wrestling ring. If we took Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, Eli's the scorned younger brother trying to escape from the older brother's shadow, you can really run with that. So, all right. So instead of giving him the 5 here, I'll give him a 4. I'll just be fair. I'll give him a 4. I don't feel as bad with that 4 as I did with the 2, which still is stabbing me in the heart as I'm speaking about it now. But I'll give him that 4. I'm satisfied with that. I want to say it's definitely unfortunate that what happened in Kansas City to Owen Hart. I felt like the man had a lot more to give us, but even more than us, he had a lot more to give to his family. You never hear a bad thing about Owen Hart, and it's guys like that literally make going to work better, going to work more pleasing. Everybody has an Owen Hart story. I remember in 2015, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Sean Waltman did a show up here in the Maine area, and it was around that time I watched 1994 King of the Ring for the first time, and if you want to talk about like a classic underdog match, go back and watch Owen Hart versus the 1-2-3 Kid. That's 5 minutes of just pure bliss. Like, the way those small guys can work back then was great. And I think even Sean Waltman is one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time. But I remember asking him about that match because I watched that in 2015, like 20 years later, 21 years later, and immediately, transformed back into that little child that used to sit in front of his 19-inch box small television screen to watch Raw. I said, I love this. I love that match. They just gelled together, and I asked him about it. And yeah, Sean Waltman said that opening sequence, he said, man, I never got hit harder than the way Owen kicked me in the beginning of that match, because the lights were off, so he was expecting it, but as he's reaching for the rope, there's like a second delay, so he expected it sooner, and then just said, okay, whatever, and then boom. But then they go right into it, and it was great. And then from there, Kevin Nash started telling some Owen Hart ribs, how they used to mess around with Lex Luger, how him and Davey Boy Smith used to mess with Lex Luger and joke with him. He said when Lex Luger would try to gorilla press Owen, Owen would put all his weight on him to make it difficult. But when Davey did it, he would go up like a feather, and Davey would do. He said Davey would have Owen on his hands and just go up and down and up and down and up and down. They would just both look at Lex, and to rib him, and even just hearing Owen Hart stories like that, I said, man, this man was incredible, and I hopefully sooner than later, we'll be able to celebrate Owen's career even more. You talk about somebody that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. We, as of recording right now, the Undertaker's going, and the Undertaker's the headliner, and the Undertaker's deserving, very deserving. And I think the wrestler that's right next to the Undertaker that's deserving is the Rock and Owen Hart, and it's long overdue. So yeah, this is the Essentials, part 5. Please go back and watch and listen to all the other Essentials episodes, and we're gonna keep these things going and rolling, and you'll be surprised who we got coming up next.